I think what you have to do when you're breaking down these over totals, right, is you have to look for teams that have the potential to have put together an offseason. And when I talk about that, the offseason is coaching changes. For example, last year we saw Jim Schwartz go into Cleveland. We all thought that would be a really significant upgrade for them defensively, and it was. It made a huge difference to their over total. And this year Macdonald, replacing Hall of Fame coach Pete Carroll, is going to be a little challenging. But when you look at Seattle, they won 9 games last year without playing very good defense. Couldn't stop the run. They're 20-13, David. The last 2 years at home. I mean, this used to be a hard place to play. And I think the number at 7.5 for a team that won 9 and couldn't control the game, gave up 400 yards to the Pittsburgh Steelers and 30 points in Week 17 of the season.
Right.
I think Macdonald comes in, and he can fix their defensive issues. They have talent defensively. They get Murphy, who's a really good player, to play 3 technique. He's going to move people around. I mean, last year he did it with Kyle Van Noy, took him off the Pat McAfee show. He brings Clowney in, who's, picks him up off the street in August, and all of a sudden they have 18.5 sacks together. And the pressure that he brings on the quarterback, I think, will be challenging. So I think, can they get 8 wins? Yeah, I do. Do I think they're going to win the Super Bowl? No. And people will throw back at me, well, they got Geno Smith and Sam Howell. Well, there's times where Geno's played pretty well. Last year, the offensive line, both tackles missed a lot of games. The offensive line was kind of a mess. And I think those things get straightened out. I think Seattle can be a sleeping team.
D'Amico Ryans had a lot of success last year. Year 1 coming from the Shanahan coaching system. This is year 1 for Macdonald from the Harbaugh coaching system, both of them, John and Jim. What do you make of that when you kind of see those trees start to grow for younger head coaches, and now they're kind of spawning their own head coaches?
Well, I think when you look at it, right, they're going to be fundamentally sound. That's something that Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh preach consistently. Fundamentals, techniques, they're going to be multiple, right? They're going to run their base scheme defensively, but they're also going to be able to attack the passer, which I think is critical. And they're going to hold people accountable. And I think they've got a good foundation out there in Seattle. I mean, Pete, 14 years there, won a Super Bowl, lost one, and I just think, to me, they have an opportunity to really close up. Now, look, they play the AFC West, 1 game. They play in interconference. They play the AFC East, which is Buffalo. Is that a great division? The challenge they have is they play the NFC North, which will be a good division. But I would say, on the surface, if you're going to play two divisions in the AFC, the East and the West aren't the worst ones to play.
And you mentioned Geno Smith.
Especially with the West being a 17th game.
Right.
They're going to play the third-place winner in the West, which would be the Las Vegas Raiders.
It doesn't look that daunting. You mentioned Geno very quickly. Do you think this is the last shot that he has as a starting quarterback this year in Seattle, or do you think they're really looking at maybe 3 years down the road still in Seattle?
Well, I think it depends on how he plays, right? If he plays like he did 2 years ago when he had protection, his accuracy was outstanding. I think he'll be good. They need to run the ball. Last year they couldn't run it. And I think that's the other key. Kenneth Walker's a really good player.